Hey guys, it's Ken Maxfield, otherwise known as the Hide Guy. I am the owner and editor-in-chief of the Maxfield Report. This is our global weekly market recap for the week ending November the 13th. Last week started off with Packers continuing to lay claims of enjoying decent sales that marked, I believe, the fourth week in a row of decent sales. What was interesting, though, is in spite of these claims of great sales, most of the Packers still had very large offering lists last week. I mean, there was a couple of the Packers that maybe took a selection or two off, but the length of the offer list really confused a lot of people who were starting to believe in some of these sales that were taking place. So then we get into a debate or a discussion as to these sales that are taking place in the last month. Are they replacement sales for past sales that were well over the market, or were they average downs? So a lot of confusion as to really what are all these sales in the last month. So that said, buyers continue to try to see if they could bid the market lower. A lot of them were throwing out ideas that were crazy, but it's kind of like throwing spitballs against the wall, try to see which ones are going to stick, which ones won't. Those trying to bid, multiple dollars under asking prices. If they did get a counter, it was at full asking price. Those with ideas a little bit closer to the prices of Packers were able to get counters. Most of those at full asking prices. A little bit back and forth, and long story short, the opinion of most people is that, Packers might have been able to throw the proverbial stake in the ground. Traded some hides last week, believed to be at steady. If it's any lower, it's just incrementally lower prices. But I think Packers were, pleased that they didn't have to see all this pressure that they had been seeing here for quite some time. On the cowhide market, that's a little bit different situation. Producers do appear as if they have enjoyed decent sales, reflective with their offers, which were much smaller than, say, 2-3 weeks ago. That said, those with aspirations of trying to ask for more money found that to be a almost impossible task. Can't get a nickel more, but that said, by golly, nobody will take $1 less for hides either on those cow hides. So week is a little bit of a tug of war back and forth. Again, producers did see some guys trying to test the wills of sellers and bidding aggressively lower. And the cowhide producers just simply countered it at steady prices and take it or leave it. End of the day, I think there was a fair number of hides sold at steady levels. So a decent week for those selling the cow hides. As far as the knock last week, it came in at 655. That's 5,000 higher than the week prior. It's darn near identical to the same week last year at 657,000. So pretty good week for the Packers. They continue to make about $550 ahead. And as the Packers make money, that one thing I do know for sure is the Packers are making money. They'll run the wheels off the bus, and trust me, they are right now. So we're about 844,000 ahead of last year. That's about 3%. That should come close to hold and serve. If anything, we might see a few more ahead through the end of the year than we did last year. There is some, reports of cattle prices starting to move higher, which is indicating, of course, not starting, which is indicating that cattle are getting more current. The momentum is starting to swing in the favor of some cattle feeders, that they're able to get this more money. That might start to shave a little bit off the kill as we get into the early part of next year. But again, it depends on beef demand. I mean, Packers will pay whatever they have to for cattle. If they can sell the boxes to make money, by gosh, they're going to do it. So that's that. The export report was rather impressive as far as wet salted sales. Excuse me, let me get this up on my screen so I can talk to you more intelligently about it. The impressive numbers were wet salted sales at 635,000. That's about 170,000 better than the week prior. China accounted for the majority of that at 510,000 hides. For the record, second largest week of the year for China. They had a week back in the first quarter where they bought over 800,000. So you wouldn't have known that had you not listened to this blog. But shipments remain a problem. Only 361,000 hides. That's about 40,000 than the week prior, lower. Wet blue sales have been starting to show a little lackluster here, half of what they were week prior, and shipments of wet blue hides were off about 40,000. So combined sales, 676, obviously sold more than what we produced. However, shipments, 456, we're knocking 650. We're we got hide stacking. Whether anybody wants to admit it or not, they may be sold, but they're stacked up somewhere. So quick trip around the globe. Our friends in Europe continue to, have issues because of the global automotive shortage. A lot of their hides are sold fresh. People are not, the tanners who would take those hides are not taking them because they don't have the orders. So the folks who have the hides are being forced either to try to find another place for them, also being forced to salt the hides, which is, there's just not that much salting capacity in Europe. So that's causing some really huge pressure on bull hides. Ox heifers are doing a little bit better. They are still people testing the waters, trying to push that price lower. Producers trying to hold on and fight best they can. So if anything, maybe a slightly lower there. And on cow hides, there has been some decent demand for cow hides, and people have been able to hold those prices at least a very soft, steady there. Down in Brazil, the beef ban by China continues to wreak havoc with their harvest. Depending on the packer, you could be off as much as 50%. A lot of them are closer to 30%. But again, depends on the packer, depends where they're at. Excuse me. That has prices of fresh hides holding relatively steady to drifting slightly lower. There's a little bit of fluctuation in the exchange rate, which extrapolates out to a little higher price per pound on a US dollar basis. But on a real basis, steady, maybe slightly softer there. Price of wet blue hides, I know people still want to get as much as $1. I think that's wishful thinking based on the people I'm talking to. A lot of sales being concluded between 90 to 93 cents, depending on quality, depending on how many you're buying and all that good stuff like that. However, it does appear as if the spread between TR2s and TR3s are tightening up a little bit. And usually, you go about 10 cents for those. Those are getting closer, maybe only a 7-8 cent discount to where the TR number one market would be there. So something to put in your back of your head and keep that in mind. And then in Australia, harvest levels remain at unseasonably low levels. Packers are slowly coming out of COVID shutdowns. They're having trouble getting people to come to work because they, like everybody else, there's help wanted signs all over the place. That and the price of live cattle, keeping that harvest number low. Prices there steady. The good news is some of our guys are telling us they're seeing interest from people they haven't heard from in a while, which is always a good indication there's a need for some of those hides. So what's going to happen next week? That, my friends, check out the website, www.themaxfieldreport.com. You want to take a look, scroll to the bottom of the page, request sample copies of the reports. I'll be happy to email them to you. If you like them, we can talk about a complimentary, no obligation trial. Get you set up. That way you can see why everybody else knows more than you because they're reading my reports. So that's it for this week. Ken Maxwell, the Hide Guy. Until next time, thanks.